Welcome back, everybody. It's Stoner Jesus Show on the video chat. We have an old friend of the show, one of the original guests on the show. Go way back with this guy, Robert Blunt. Robert, welcome back to the show, man.
What's up, buddy? It's great to be on.
It's great to have you back. If my memory serves me correctly, and sometimes it doesn't anymore, quite often, in fact, the first time you were on the show, you called in from somewhere in Holland. I want to say Rotterdam or close to Rotterdam or on your way to Rotterdam or something like that. You're with Master Bong and you guys are doing bong rips. There's a kitty. You're doing
Sativa,
bong rips
part of
and
Sativa wants
it
to be
was,
part of the show too, so I'm
oh
sorry.
yeah?
This is a chat. Yeah, I was doing a call with Master Bong from Rotterdam. I was staying there with my friends with Apollyon Head Shop, and it was really cool because I was living above a head shop for 6 months in their attic there, and it was a really really cool experience.
Yeah, it's been God, I guess it's been 8 years now. It's been a really long time. It's incredible how fast things go and how fast time goes. Uh, people can
Wow,
see, I
really
guess,
8 years? No way.
it has to be something like that because I
That's
remember
awesome.
we did a Thanksgiving call. I think it was you and Master Bong and like the guy from Kentucky Weed Radio, Michael, and I don't know if Tommy from Marijuana Heroes was on there or not. I can't remember, but it was like the basic premise was, can you make a bong out of a turkey? And we were discussing that and batting that idea around.
I
But anyway,
imagine now that I think about it, it's one of those things where if you're gonna have a smoked turkey, you need to have this conversation anyway. If you're a stoner and you're turkey,
absolutely. So, you for people who don't know, you've been away from the U.S. for quite a while. When's the last time you were in the U.S.?
let's see. When was the last time? It was on my way back from Peru. I stopped off in Los Angeles a few days to visit Dr. Dina and a couple other people there. Just a few days, and then I jumped back out here. I went to Peru for 6 months, Iquitos, which is like the gateway to the Amazon, and and basically, that was really cool. I was there for 6 months. There was a lot of intrigue, and it was a really strange chapter in my life. Of course, Peru just changed their cannabis laws, and they're opening it up for people out there. But we were kind of investigating. We had a friend out there who wanted to start a fruit processing business. So after I was there for 6 months, I decided to come back out here to Thailand. And so I only stayed in the States for just a few days. I smuggled some seeds, some camu seeds, which is crazy fruit. I put them like in this trail mix because you're not supposed to have seeds with you when you travel across borders. So I made this little beat up looking bag of trail mix, and I put it on the outside pocket of my backpack, and I had these seeds, fruit seeds in there. So I made them through the whole journey. But at that point, yeah, it was just a quick stop off. Like I hadn't spent much time in the States. I was planning on going this year. Was going to stop off in Los Angeles, in Las Vegas, and then eventually Detroit. And we just started a exciting project out in Detroit that I'm going to be telling people more about as it comes along. Um, but of course, those plans, like many other plans, so stuck
Yeah,
like Chuck out here.
shot to hell. As far as like COVID and Corona and all that, how is that over there? Is that something that affects you all? Because obviously, people in the United States, it dominates just about every aspect of our lives. But how are things there with it?
Well, here, it's an ever-present part of our lives as well. The Thai government has been one of those governments that have stood out as far as their response to COVID. They've really kept the infections down quite a bit. Now when we hear about new infections out here, it's usually people arriving from other places, Thai
Yeah,
citizens who are staying abroad, like in India or Sri Lanka or other countries. And then what they do is they quarantine those people. So there hasn't been much of any activity as far as recently with the virus here. They just ended our curfew. We have some parties starting again. The island I live out on now is a notorious rave party island. And for a few months there, it was like everybody's just like quarantined and they're all doing their drugs in their house and just like a little wigged out, and private parties getting busted, and there was these Russian people who had a big private party, and the police came in there and got them. And so now that it's opening up, everybody's out there doing benders again. And not myself included, I've been disciplined. I've had to manage a few things. We've seen some really cool development with our family of companies, even throughout the crisis. So I've been responsible. I've been focused. I've only been to like 2 or 3 parties, but it's starting to feel a little more normal here. They're keeping the borders closed to most tourists, but like medical tourists are allowed, because a lot of people come out to Thailand to get procedures done, where those procedures would have been more expensive in other places. Um, and if you have a business out here, then they're going to allow people to stay out here. Like, one example is my company formed a branch out here so that I can stay here with a work visa. So it's just been, an adjustment. And I miss everybody back home, and I keep trying to keep this here, but I realize that we're just going to have to sit back and wait a little while, and and um, and just see how this whole thing goes. How's it going off over there?
It's pretty crazy here. I luckily live in an area where it's pretty low level as far as cases and stuff like that goes. I wear a mask everywhere. I have been for almost 4 months now, and I just hope for the best. But I got to get out, get supplies, get things done, keep hustling with this
Yeah,
show
yeah.
and other stuff, and keep moving forward. It's definitely
Yeah.
not a bad time to be out of the country. I would say there's a lot of weird shit
Well,
going on here.
I hate to think of it that way, but it's like, whew, phew.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, things have been pretty crazy here the last few years, as a matter of fact. But they got extra crazy this year, that's for sure. Where you
Yeah,
are, and obviously
yeah.
not without getting into any like big specifics or whatever. How hard is it to get stuff like cannabis and other fun substances, if you will?
Well, when it comes to cannabis, things have been really fluid out here. When I first came out here, it was really difficult to find anything other than smuggled brickweed that comes from like Cambodia or Laos. And some brave smugglers would bring in some kind of bud from time to time, and then Russian mafia uh, guys who are out here would definitely usually have some nice supply for themselves. Everybody was always telling me, "Oh, the Russians got it. The Russians got it." And I'm like, "Yeah, they're really scary though, so I'm probably not going to try to get any." I actually ended up making friends with some Russian gangsters, and they're actually pretty heartfelt people. But the one thing is, if you're ever with one of them at a party and they're like, hey, I was thinking, I'm going to do a drop off and I could use a buddy. You want to help me with this? That's where you have to say no. But Igor, I really like your personality, but business, I just don't think business and friendship's going to work here. It's not like your friend's a pool cleaner or something like that. And you're worried about getting chlorine splashed on you. You're like, you're worried. Who knows where this is going to go? I remember one of my buddies would show up with a bike every week or so, and then be gone, and then you'd have a new bike. And we just were like, I asked my friends, I was like, why does Igor always have a different bike? Like, what's up with that? And my friend was like, well, do you really want? I was like, I think I'll just not ask anymore. Just leave it at that. But this island is actually, being the nature of a party island, and a place where a lot of people come out to learn music and just music and get into the rave scene. Um, there's a very gratuitous abundance of substances of many sorts. Um, this island, before I came here, I never tried stuff like LSD or ketamine or anything like that. And then when I came out here, I noticed that this stuff is everywhere. Like, I had my first real acid trip out here. In the
Wow.
States, I had mushrooms. I had mescaline. One time I had a chocolate bar that was mixed with mescaline and mushrooms together, and it was a really, really pleasant trip. It was one of the best trips I've had, in fact. And then when I came out here, I was like, I asked my buddy, I was like, hey, so, you know, I heard there's a party and I just wanted to know if I could get my hands on some. And I couldn't even finish my sentence. And he was like, yeah, of course you can. And I was like, well, really finish. Trust me, bro. You know, like there was one time I was at a party and they ran out of coconuts and they ran out of water. And I was trying to hydrate. I was like, okay, I've been dancing. Stuff's been, you know, pretty intense. Let's get some hydration. Let's follow our T's and dot our I's. And yeah, sorry, I don't have any water. Some guy comes up behind me. He's like, "Hey, bro, you want some acid?" And I'm like, "Man, you know, like if that was one of the essential building blocks of life, yeah, you know, but at the current moment, that's not necessarily something." So yeah, it's an interesting culture, and you know, while you know a lot of these things are illegal, um, there's a lot of cat and mouse out here. There's a lot of intrigue because sometimes somebody will buy something and the dealer is related, like his brother's a cop or something like that. And then like somebody will get said person will get busted, and then that'll go right back to the cop, or the cops will give it right back to the cousin or the brother, or whatever. Will go right back out selling it and stuff. So while people do find themselves in the place where they can start to explore and really feel these things out, and I do feel like that's the way it is out here. It's a place that allows people to really, I hate to say find themselves, but lose themselves and find themselves in that chaos. Maybe you know, there's always a bit of danger on the other side. I've lost a few friends out here. I've heard a few weird stories, and you know, I actually the first year I lived out here, I was working as a body paint model and dancer for a festival called Jungle Experience, and Jungle Experience is owned by a family that's regarded as Thai mafia. You know, the island is very old social dynamic with these families. They were fishing families and coconut farmers, and as the tourist industry became something here, they all kind of converted over to handling what, you know, the ebbs and flows of tourism, the p's and q's of tourism, which include parties and substances and weird things. And that was interesting. We had a meeting one day, like a suggestions meeting. Our boss at the festival was like, "Hey, guys, come by. We'll talk a little bit. You guys give me some ideas, and you know, about what you're thinking and what your creativity is." And we're like, "Hey, this is exciting." He says, "You know, whatever." So we're all talking, and he's like, "You know, guys," he gets into a few rants, and then at one point he's like, "You know, guys, I'm not, I'm not the kind of guy to put a gun to somebody's head. You know, I want you guys to be happy and this and that." And somebody leans over to me and says in my ear, like, "You literally put a gun to somebody's head." And I'm like, "Okay, cool, all right." You know, so like, it's a different place. Things move really fast out here. You know, I always tell people a day is like a week is like a month, and a month is like, and you know, I would have to say that probably in a sense of consumption in general terms, I've exceeded several. I've probably like 5 to 1 to the states. Mad, it's probably like 10 to 1 to the states. It's like a 1 month period of time and say this is how much substances is consumed in a month period of time. It would be like 10 months in the United States, and that's
Wow.
on a slow month, I think. so so yeah, lately it's calmed down though. Yeah, it's not quite as intense.
Wow. It's definitely incredible. You bill yourself on your Facebook page as the world's top cannabis social media influencer. I put it on the graphic for the full screen. When we're talking about social media, all the pages, the Facebook, the Instagram, all that, what kind of numbers are we talking about here?
Right now, it's a weird thing. I talked to some of my artists and my musician friends because just promoted a release by a good friend of mine and a musician yesterday, across the pages. He released a track called Dukes of Dopamine, which I would highly recommend. I'll pay for it if anybody wants to jam out. And it's a bit of progressive techno. And I was talking to him the other day. I was like, "Hey, let me share the link to your song, see if I can get you to get a couple people, extra people to buy your song and support what you're doing." And you know, he was like, "Yeah, that's really awesome." And I was like, "Well, you know, I don't know how many people are going to do it, you know, so go, but I don't know how many people are going to buy and click, whatever. And I told him, I was like, where you guys, artists, musicians, even as yourself, as somebody who does a show consistently, you guys have what's called a core following. And I have a cloud following. So while I have some pages and stuff for Robert Blunt and for brands that are closer to me, most of my audience is a cloud audience where these are people who follow brands that I control, own, or manage. And so a core audience is very loyal. Like if one of you guys says, "Hey, I need you to spend $1 on this song, or I need you to spend $1 on this weed sticker, or I need you to go and vote for, or like and share," these people, a pretty good percentage of them is going to do that. Whereas a cloud audience, I pop up on the pages, and maybe like 20% of these people know really who I am. And then 20% of that 20% isn't too lazy to do action if I do it. So I'm working to build that core audience. It just takes a lot. The cloud audience basically is about 40 million followers across, I think,
Wow.
95 pages or something like that. So, and we've been working on expanding. We're doing an expansion program right now. We've released a few new brands like Stoned Alone and High Together and Lit Mafia, Lit Ministry, in hopes to kind of really start to branch out and show different aspirations and interests and activities that we have as a family of brands. While I do claim to be the top social media influencer in the cannabis industry, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be as in a platform that I have without the close collaboration on like our buddies in Head Shop, drug possession laws, and some other really great ones. Recently, we started working with Chief Greenbud, who's been really an outstanding guy. He's super
Absolutely.
excited about promoting some of his music and trying to get some. I want to get a collaboration with him. I have a friend out here who does rap. He's a pretty good rapper, actually. And I was thinking it would be really cool to have a rap country crossover song about cannabis. So I was going to tease that to Chief Greenbud when we have a chat again. But yeah, we're growing. Last month we grew by about 80,000 followers, and we're trying to get up there and get more of an audience because we have some social causes like cannabis for the environment and terraforming with hemp, and water management. Some things that we really feel like, they all come together. They're not all cannabis specific, like some of the environmental restoration projects that we want to promote aren't specifically. And then we dip into a little bit of political stuff, but it's usually mostly like decent open source. Don't fight the government, just feed each other, grow, share ideas and work as a community. And these things really press me. It's not really so much the cannabis message in itself as an idea of promoting community and synergy in this really interesting age that we live in. So for me, it's like 40 million is great, but we'd really like to get to 50, 60, 70 so that we can really start to get more involvement as we put these things out. So yeah, that's where it stands now. I took a 3-year, almost 4-year hiatus from the industry when I arrived to this island by surprise, and just slid into the party fucking tumble. I think of it a tumble dryer. Like I tripped and fell into a tumble dryer, and the door shut behind me, and I just went for like 3.5, 4 years, and then at some point I talked to Tommy with Marijuana Heroes. I talked to a few other buddies, and they're like, "Rob, we miss you, man, and we know that you're not feeling whole because you're not in advocacy and you're not in the scene and in the cannabis community actively right now. What's your next play?" And so now I'm easing back in. The timing of being able to come on your show is great too, because the hope for me is to be more present in the cannabis industry and start to promote some of these ideas that I think bring the substance in. Whereas a lot of the cannabis industry, you have people who want to promote things that I don't think are necessarily of the greatest importance. And there's a lot of weird competition for popularity and a lot of mudslinging in the cannabis industry too. People who don't know the cannabis industry, I try to explain to them how volatile and weird it is, not just as an emerging industry, but as a phenomena. And and so as I'm making my way. I'd like to continue, because when I stopped about 3 years ago, I was around 20 million followers, and now we've doubled since then, but with it mostly on autopilot, and with me kind of having less of an. So now I'm back in, and I'm hoping that we increase our reach so that we can start to provide some cool things and ideas that people can plug into with us.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. Obviously, anytime you want to come on and talk about anything, whatever future projects you have, any of that shit, man, we're here to talk about it and promote cannabis in a time where it's really, especially here in the United States, it's really weird. There's so much noise in the media about so many other things that are going on, and cannabis has kind of taken a back seat in a lot of different places, and a lot of states have had to suspend their legalization campaigns and stuff like that. So it's definitely a time when we need a voice, and we need to try to cut through some of that noise that's really just everywhere now, especially in the media and social media and all that. Here, it's a crazy time.
Well, it makes me feel like when I think about the message of what the cannabis industry is, it's easy for people to get confused or it's easy for people to get distracted because cannabis is a fun thing. It's a lot of recreation attached to it. I myself am guilty of going through life considering this to be a party favor, considering something that's just fun and for giggles. Once my big segue out of political activism and into the cannabis space was being able to network with Rick Simpson and what he was doing at the time. We had just created Occupy Bilderberg, and went there, and we didn't real freaked us out. We were like, wow, we went there. It was like a festival for us. We brought a huge bag of weed. I called. We were doing an activist podcast back then, and I called in as in my Arnold Schwarzenegger accent, and we just didn't fucking think it was real. Like we just went out there and we ate at this barbecue place in Virginia that was fucking incredible. And then lo and behold, at the Westfields Marriott, it turned out that these guys really were meeting there, and we saw Henry Kissinger. We saw them with the hiding behind their papers and books, and we were like, holy crap, this is really weird that this stuff is happening. And for what, 60 years now. And like the Rick Simpson's handler in Croatia was listening to us, apparently just randomly, sending us messages, hey, check this out. And then once I latched on there, it wasn't the recreational fun aspect of cannabis that really made me gravitate towards it and pull away from activism, because I was really passionate about world events, geopolitics, social issues. But I was blown away because I was like, this is a sin. You see these nuns who I've just connected with the nuns, the weed nuns, and these other folks, and you start to think, man, they're actually really onto something here. This isn't just something that we get high with. It kills cancer cells in many anecdotal experiences, but with a lot of documentation. There have been studies to demonstrate that it causes apoptosis in mutated cells, especially cancer cells. I even saw a NBC article that said that cannabinoids kill MRSA, the superbacteria. This was a few years ago. So I started experimenting with cannabis tinctures and oils, using them on infections, even advanced infections. And so far, my experience treating these with the right protocol, I haven't seen a single infection that could withstand exposure to cannabinoids. Now, while in developed countries we think, well, an infection, you go get antibiotics or you go to the doctor, zippity doo fucking done. A lot of people understand also, in places that are developing countries, an infection can mean a big deal. An infection can mean your arm, your leg, or your life. And where people don't have access to healthcare, they don't have access to these resources like doctors and nurses and the proper. Something like this could be a lifesaver. It's not that it could be a lifesaver. It would be absolutely positively a lifesaver. And you're talking thousands, hundreds of thousands of lives, probably millions of lives if everybody has cannabis right now, the thing that drives me crazy, that pulled me in, that still keeps me in, and makes me want to change the conversation is the fact that if you said everybody has weed, everybody in the world has weed now, and you have 8 billion people, and they have a certain percentage of them has diabetes, certain percentage has, like I was saying, maybe just got a cut infection or whatever. A certain percentage has PTSD, certain percentage has cancer, certain percentage has wasting disease, autoimmune disease. You have to ask yourself, okay, so if 8 billion people all had cannabis, what's the percentage of those people who have ailments who would die tomorrow or would die in a week or 10 weeks from now? What's the percentage of those people who would survive and who would live longer or who would live much longer? Um, and when I put that through my mind and just do a quick on the fly estimate, it's a very staggering number. And then that brings me to the idea that, well, the reason why everybody doesn't have cannabis like this, and the reason why that isn't a reality is because the drug war and prohibition. And so now we have millions probably of people dying every year, every month, every week, whatever the numbers are, I'm not sure, but it's a lot, and it's gruesome, and it really makes me view the drug war and our limited access, our lack of access, as a serious social issue and a human crime. It really is. I mean, we're talking about dictators, and we're talking about uh, abuse from government, and this is and people out there right now, proliferation of conspiracy theories is a big theme. People are like, well, we got all kinds of conspiracy theories. Step right up to your conspiracy theory and let's get you served up. I tell them, hey, I got a conspiracy for you. Here's something that's pound for pound probably the living thing we have, the most healing substance of all things. Living, it's a living thing that when people tell me it's a drug, I say, no, it's not a drug, because it's a plant that contains many drugs. Because as we know, each cannabinoid has its own effect. So you can argue that each cannabinoid is a certain drug. So I'm like, here's this thing that is a growing pharmacy. It is a fucking growing pharmacy. And what we're doing is we're saying, I'll throw you in a cage. If you have it. There was a who was a veteran, a war veteran, and he was playing air guitar, and they threw him in jail for 5 years, prison for 5 years. He was playing air guitar, and it's like, man, this is the biggest. I think this is probably why the aliens don't talk to us. They're like, yeah, we see them up there, they're flying around, but they're not coming to hang out with us. So that is, I think that's got to be the bedrock, and I wanna instigate a movement in the industry and in this culture. Well, not even instigate, because there's already people out there struggling for it, embolden and bolster their efforts to make the conversation about cannabis return to the healing and the power that it has to improve and save lives, and then also repair the damage that we've done to the environment. That's, for me, that's the sweet spot.
Absolutely. I know I was in my late teens when I realized that just smoking a joint or smoking a bowl or whatever allowed me to. So I have really serious stomach problems and digestive problems. Allows me to eat, allows me to digest food. I can't imagine what I would do without it if it didn't exist. I've tried, prescription medications and that kind of stuff, and nothing worked except for cannabis. And that was over 20 years ago. And if I didn't get access to it or didn't have access to it for an extended period of time, theoretically, I wouldn't eat enough to stay alive. So it's the struggle continues. That's for sure.
I mean, we heard stories where people say, hey, you know what, day to day, it makes me able to, I can pick up my fucking keys without it hurting. I can open and shut the door without it hurting. I can carry my kid. I can walk my dog. It lets me go day to day without having this extra pain that I'm with. And then we have on the other end of the spectrum, um, people who really keeps, they're on death's doorstep, and um, it's canceled. I know a guy who was in hospice and left hospice. I
Wow.
don't know him really, but we have many mutual friends. He actually used to live out here, and he was in hospice. They were like, we're sorry, we can, and using FECO oil, which is, it's like Rick Simpson oil 2.0. And he would say, if I said that, Rick is a very fiery man. He doesn't like people getting the message wrong when they talk about his oil, but I think he would be behind the FUC oil if, and I'm sure he has seen the effects of it. But and then also in Rick's experience, he had a lung cancer patient who had stage 4 cancer who took some of his oil. I mean, he told the guy, he's like, look, you're gonna die, right? So you might as well. I mean, well, just take it. And he said, "Oh, okay, hang on one second. One of the kittens fell off the
Oh
terrace
shit!
here, and I got to go rescue it."
Holy crap!
I
All
should
right.
have I should have kept it locked up into the house. Hang on, maybe do a quick retrieve this little.
Yeah.
My God,
So
I'm
Robert
sorry.
goes to rescue a kitten during the show. I believe he said fell off the terrace. I think falling off the terrace is not the best thing you want to hear about a kitten. But hopefully it's okay. It's like a cliffhanger, a really dramatic part of the show. I don't want to say I'm glad it happened. I'm not wishing harm on a kitten. I'm just saying a little dramatic interlude. It's not bad. It can only spice things up, help things out. Lord knows, I need the help with what I got going on. It's a great view though. I mean the pieces
Oh my
and the
goodness, God,
background and all that.
sorry. So Sativa and Indica had kittens recently. We actually did a kitten stream not too long ago, and so I have 10 little fuzzy nuggets running around here, and this one be a little adventurous and take a leap off of my deck. So
Wow,
uh,
this is very very dramatic
the
section of the show. It's great.
yeah, they drive me nuts. They're now practicing. They're now practicing on me because like when little kittens when they jump on your leg and they start attacking you, like I would just be trying to shave or something, and they'll just attacking my legs. That's what they're doing is they're practicing their murder skills. So
Oh,
a I'm just a great big murder dummy now, basically. Uh, but life is good. We actually did a live stream with them not too long ago, just hanging out here, and they get of the right age and their little cat brains are fully developed. I'll be making sure that they get nice and high as well. With Indica and Sativa, I named them based on the personalities because Indica is like really chill. She likes to eat and cuddle, and Sativa is she looks like a bat. She's got huge eyes and she likes to hunt, kill. And we, I was at first thinking, well, I've had a couple cats that really liked weed. I'd be sitting there smoking and they'd run up to me, so I'd blow smoke in their face, and then they'd go eat a ton of food and act weird. Um, and I was like, well, I'm not sure if these cats would be the same way. I'm not sure all cats like weed. And then one morning, I had made some salve oil with a lot of cannabis and coconut oil, and I kept the weed left over from making the salve, and I put it inside a napkin and put a rubber band around it so that I could squeeze it and get the last bits of oil out because I put it on my face, I put it in my hair, I put beard topically. It's really good for skin. Cannabis salve. If anybody hasn't used a cannabis salve or hasn't made it, I'd highly recommend using coconut oil. Do a little research on that. So I decarboxylate cannabis, and then I make this salve, and then I'll have a big pile of greasy leftover weed making it. So I'll just put it in a napkin, and I band it, and it's like a ball basically, and it's like a green ball napkin thing, and you can squeeze it in the morning, just kind of until you get the last bits out, because I've already squeezed and strained the weed out. And one night took it down. Indica, I don't know which one took it down, but they both went after it. Um, so they took this little napkin full. It's about this bigger than my fist, and they ripped it open and they ate a bunch of the weed that was in there. So I knew from that moment that they were that they were stoner cats. So and now the neighbor has a little monkey, and I don't know what they don't really get along with the monkey here, but like it's what I will say is I do like animals a lot. I like having them around, and they've been great companions. They it would be less. It would be nice if they killed less, but they are little predators, so they're always bringing in. And one time they brought in this huge crab, and they were
wow.
fighting the crab all night. and they couldn't kill it, and they couldn't eat it, and it was just a battle that was like all night. I'm like, guys. So I had finally, I think I convinced them to stop, or maybe they gone crab at one point. I think because I stopped bringing them in. I think one of them really got up good. So yeah, just the flow out, like uh, being with nature, being by the sea, being by the jungle, and then like these two cats are adoptions. We have a few dogs that run around here and stuff too. So I've always been a big animal fan.
Awesome. Seems like a pretty interesting, fulfilling life, man. That's awesome. Robert, thanks for coming on the show and taking the time. I said you're going to come back on, talk to us about anything. We're always here, man.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure, and we'll be doing a podcast. We'll be launching a podcast again soon. What we did with Blunted Radios, we tried to kind of meld the two together. We tried to mix a web show and like an interview format show, and now we're going to compartmentalize them. I'm going to do just a regular podcast and have a produced show after the apocalypse is over.
Yeah.
So we do. I really, really, like we're very happy to collaborate with y'all. I appreciate you inviting me back on the show, and yeah, I'll be happy to come back on ASAP. There's always
No
things
problem.
going on to talk about.
Absolutely. Thanks, Robert. I guess in your case, have a good day, man.
All right, buddy, take care.
Thanks. Have a good one.